Question: how can I use wisdom to eradicate the various issues of both suffering and happiness from my mind? These are issues that I keep circling back to and contemplating repeatedly. It is like they are glued to my mind. Answer: this is difficult. This is a question that is quite impossible to answer. It is impossible for you to think about and put into action. It is impossible to put it to use in the society of Putthajanas or ordinary commoners. This is because this happiness and suffering still exists in Arahants or enlightened individuals. Even they cannot shed them. Our Buddha experienced happiness and suffering. When suffering arose, he would take medicine. Sometimes he would even have Venerable Ananda take his alms bowl and go on alms to procure items for a medicinal concoction, because he was suffering. However, this suffering was merely bodily suffering. His mind didn't suffer. It was fine. See, the suffering of Arahants and the suffering of commoners is not the same. You are ordinary commoners, so it is impossible for you to be spared this kind of suffering. It must arise. Even if someone were to achieve higher meditative attainments, the suffering would only vanish temporarily. After the mind withdraws from the meditative attainment, they would suffer as usual. Suffering must exist first. This is because you are commoners. If you don't have suffering, what will you use in the course of your mental development? Suffering is a necessary element of practice. Suffering, dukkha, the cause of suffering, samudaya, the cessation of suffering, nirodha, and the path, magga. If you do not have suffering as the basis, what will be used as evidence in the search for the cause of suffering? It will be impossible to do. Suffering must serve as the basis. Do not shed suffering yet, because you haven't even seen the cause of suffering. If you shed suffering, what are you going to do about the cause of suffering? It will continue to exist. You won't be able to shed anything if you don't see the cause of suffering.